All right, good morning, each and everyone. This is going to be YieldMax and RoundHill for Group C of this week. Most of these are going to get paid, if not all are going to get paid this coming Friday. All right, so we don't have any curve this week, and we don't have any rec shares this week that are getting paid out. Just YieldMax and RoundHill. As you can see, leading the way, CVNY, the underlying stock being Carvana, paying out $2.68. Coney paying out 65.10. Ulti 9 cent. LFGY 47. Um, YMAX 17. YMAG 10, and some others. All right, so let's get into it, and let's figure out what we got paid. Because what this PowerPoint is going to show you or present to you is what will you get paid if you own a certain number of shares. So these prices vary each month, and if you should happen to own some of the above ETF, here's a roundabout payout you should receive. Below is what you should get paid out for owning the number of shares multiplied by the price per share. So the EX date is going to be today. So the last day will be the last day that you would be able to purchase these or add to your position and get paid out on May the 2nd, which will be this Friday. Now, always remember, as an example shows here, if the price of the stock is 25 and the dividend is $1 on Thursday, the price should at least drop by $1. Sometimes it can drop more. Sometimes it may not drop so much if there's a lot of buying power. All right, so let's get to it. First up is ABNY, our monthly ETF, paying out this Friday. Closed yesterday at 12:33. Previously paid out 36.65. Currently paying out 60.20. So if you own 50 shares, that would be $30.10. 1,000 shares would be $602, and 10,000 shares would be $6,020. Next up is we got AMDY. All right, closed yesterday at $77 and hold on one second here. Do something. Get this out of my way where I can see. All right, $7.01. Previously paid out $27.65. Currently paying out an increase of $33.65. So if you own 500 shares, that'd be $168.25. 10,000 shares would be $3,365. Next we got Coney, which used to be a beast, but it's regressed a little bit. All right, so Coney closed yesterday at 8.25. Previously paid out 43.81. So we have a nice increase of 65.10. So if you own 50 shares, that would be 32.55. 1,000 shares would be $651. And if you happen to own 6,072 shares, which is what I do, I and you both will get paid out $3,952.87. And if you happen to own 10,000 shares, which is the ultimate goal, that would be $6,510. Next, we got the underlining Carvana. I don't know how we're pronouncing this one just yet. CVNY closed yesterday at $40.30. Previously paid out $2.9684. Currently paying out a small reduced amount of $268.16. So if you own 50 shares, that would be $134.08. 1,000 shares would be $2,681.60, and 10,000 shares would be $26,816. Give it up. Our leader for Group C. Next, we got Fiat. Closed yesterday at 7.27. Previously paid out 9.24. Currently paying out a reduced amount of 56.18. So 100 shares of this would be $56.18. 2,000 shares would be $1,123.60, and 10,000 shares would be $5,618. Next, we got MSFO, closed yesterday at $16.20. Previously paid out $33.37. Currently paying out an increase of $52.55. So if you own 50 shares, that would be $26.28. 1,000 shares would be $525.50, and 5,000 shares would be $2,627.50. Next, we got Netflix. All right, previously paid out 1875. Closed yesterday at 1875. Previously paid out 602. Currently paying out an increased amount of 92.30. 50 shares of this will get you $46.15. 1,000 shares will be $923, and 10,000 shares will be $9,230. Next, we got PP or PayPay. Closed yesterday at $12.59. Previously paid out $35.21. Currently paying out an increased amount of $55.19. So 100 shares of this will get you $55.19. 2,000 shares will get you $1,103.80, and 10,000 shares would be $5,519. All right, next our weekly ETF for YieldMax is CHPY. Closed yesterday at 48.18. Previously paid out 345. Currently paying out an increased amount of 62.29. So if you own 500 shares of this, that would be $311.45. 10,000 shares would be $6,229. Next, we got GPTY, weekly ETF. Closed yesterday at 39.56. Previously paid out a distribution of 24.72. Currently paying out a small increase of 29.26. So 500 shares would be $146.30. And if you had 10,000 shares, that'd be $2,926. Next, we got LFGY. Closed yesterday at 37.41. Previously paid out 408.8, and is currently paying out an increase of 47.21. So 500 shares of this will be $236.05, and 5,000 shares will be $2,360.50. Next, we got QDTY weekly ETF. Closed yesterday at 39.81. Previously paid out 32.31, and currently paying out a small increase of 33.62. So 500 shares will get you $168.10, and 2,000 shares will be $672.40. All right, next we have RDTY. Closed yesterday at 43.32. Previously paid out a price of 457. Currently paying out a small increase of 46.96. So if you own 100 shares, that'd be 46.96. And if you if you own 2,000 shares, that would be a payout of $936.39, and 20 cents. All right, next we have SDTY. Closed yesterday at 41.84. Previously paid out 30.24. Currently paying out 31.10. So if you own 1,000 shares, that'd be $311. And if you happen to have 5,000 shares, that'd be $1,555. Next, we got YieldMax weekly ETF OT. Closed yesterday at 5.95. Previously paid out 0.836. Currently paying out 0.936. All right, so if you own 50 shares, that'd be $4.68. And if you happen to own 400 shares, which is what I do, that would be $37.44. And if you own 5,000 shares, that'd be $468. Next, we got YieldMax weekly ETF. Closed yesterday at 14.80. Previously paid out 0.924. Currently paying out 10.10. So if you own 2,000 shares, that'd be $202. And if you happen to own 5,000 shares, that would be $505. Next, we got YieldMax weekly ETF. Previously closed at 13.36. Previously paid out an amount of 13.67, and is currently paying out an increase of 17.44. So if you own 50 shares, which is what I happen to own, you and I will be getting $8.72. If you own 2,000 shares, that'll be $348.80. And if you own 10,000 shares, that'd be $1,744. Next, we got our RoundHill weekly ETF, QDTE. Closed yesterday at 32.07. Previously paid out 23.992. Currently paying out 218.172. So if you own 500 shares, that'd be $109.09. And 5,000 shares will get you $1,090.86. All right, RDT of RoundHill previously closed yesterday at 32.25 and previously paid out a distribution amount of 31.154. Currently paying out a small reduced amount of 252.788. So if you own 2,000 shares, that'd be $505.58. And if you own 5,000 shares, that'd be $1,263.94. Next, we have XDT by RoundHill. Closed yesterday at 41.55. Previously paid out 342.93. Currently paying out a reduced amount of 255.418. So if you own 2,000 shares, that would be $510.84. And if you happen to if you happen to own or have 5,000 shares, that'd be $1,277.09. All right, last but not least, RoundHill YBTC closed yesterday at 43.05. Previously paid out 44.45.5. Currently paying out a distribution amount of 236.537. So if you own 2,000 shares, that would be $473.07. And if you happen to own 5,000 shares, that would be $1,182.69. All right, so that is going to conclude our distributions for YieldMax and RoundHill for Group C that will be paid out on this Friday. All right, I'm out. Have a great one.